Well, good evening, Hong Kong time. Today we are going to talk about the US presidential election, which will happen in approximately 3 weeks. We have Professor Sam Ho from Hong Kong, who is doing this live broadcast streaming with me. And currently I'm located in Toronto, Canada. So welcome, Sam.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can listen to me loud and clear.
Right. Now, first of all, just a disclaimer. This is views from Hong Kong. Actually, it's quite polarized. Now, we have different views in terms of who might become the next president of the United States. And both Sam and I, we cannot cast a vote because I'm a Hong Konger with Canadian citizenship, and I don't know about Sam. Sam, it's got a mainland passport, right, from mainland China.
I'm British in Hong Kong for
British.
me.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
British.
Yeah, I was in
Full British
UK
citizen.
9 years teaching at Oxford and Cambridge before.
Okay. So, okay, without further ado, let's go into the core of the program. Now, a lot of people who are acutely aware of the 2019 social movement in Hong Kong, and at that time, um, um, former President Trump was highly talked about. I should say, highly regarded in the movement. When you see the protesters, they raise the Hong Kong flag, which is a black Bohemian flag. At the same time, they raise sometimes a Canadian flag and a U.S. flag too. That symbolizes freedom, freedom of speech, freedom of expression. Um, and I guess the key thing is a lot of Hong Kongers they are frustrated. The one country, two systems model mastermind by Deng Xiaoping, the the former paramount leader of China. Now, um, in Hong Kong, it was never really fully executed, and a lot of people became very upset. And then I guess most Hong Kongers, what they want is a one person, one vote without pre-screening. And going back forward 5 years from 2019, what we have now is the enactment of the national security law, and then it's very harsh law, and then a lot of people who try to attend the primary. That's for the legislative council. Now they are incarcerated. Apple Daily now it's crushed, and also people who organize the Tiananmen Vigil. They are also detained, right? So under this pretext, people like to see the American style of democracy. So that's why they hold up the American flag 5 years ago. And of course, if you do that in Hong Kong, it's almost impossible. Today, it's not about the Hong Kong democracy, but at the same time, these are views from Hong Kongers. Why people kind of cling on to free speech. Um, Free speech is important. I don't know about democracy. Hong Kong never really has a democracy. So, Sam, you have come up with a sheet of paper. Actually, you had a full slideshow, but due to technical reasons, we cannot put it up. It is about the what happened in the U.S. 3 weeks from now. Kamala Harris versus Trump. A lot of people still reminisce about Donald Trump. Not too much about Mike Pence, but with former Secretary of State Michael Pompeo as well. That was a good time, even though Hong Kong was in in chaos to some people, but Hong Kong people were fighting for democracy. Um, But 5 years from 2019, what do you think as Hong Kongers? Now, again, this is quite polarized as well because we don't have a vote, but the whole world is watching the three televised debates: Kamala Harris versus Trump, Biden versus Trump, and also J.D. Vance versus Tim Walz, right? So I guess this is how we set up the stage for today's 15-minute discussion.
Well, there are two things. If we talk about the Hong Kong scenario for the last 5 years, actually the national security law passed 3 or 4 years ago, and then the legislative mechanism for the Clause 23 passed about half a year ago, which is added, you may say, more regular to the original national security law. Now, what I can tell you is that the Hong Kong economy has been going down ever since 3 years ago, and now even getting worse. Because today I'm more interested in business and economics. But the main reason I believe is a lot of overseas investors are retrieving from Hong Kong, and their sentiment that they don't want to stay for two reasons. Number one, they may be violating the security law and to the extent of imprisonment. And number two, of course, given the choice, they might as well go to Singapore. We all know that. So a tale of two cities. Hong Kong now is on the downside. Anyway, today I'm glad that Chin Edward has given me a chance to look at the election. I've been watching, but not until a few days ago, Ed told me, "Hey, Sam, have you been looking at Alan Richmond's forecasting? 9 out of 10 is correct." I'm a researcher at Cambridge and I teach business at Oxford. So to me, research is very important. The academic rigor of research is important. Of course, that aroused my interest, whether Alan is doing the right approach to research. And to my surprise, from my finding, which I'm going to go through in a minute, I think there's some loophole in his approach. That is why I would like to give me a chance to voice out.
Okay.
Firstly, we have to declare both Ed and myself have no vested interest in who is going to be elected. And of course, we are not voter either. So we are basically from a third party point of view. Now, the
Well, one word
agenda.
of caution, Sam. It's that I don't even know whether we are broadcasting live because I only see one person who is viewing. So this could be just a streaming.
It's okay. As
So I
expected,
hope by the
more
time
people will come.
we can have it uploaded. Okay, so I don't think people are viewing it right now, like online. But because you are using I guess an iPhone to do the broadcast, and I'm using a laptop, so it might not be fully synchronized. So anyway, let's see whether I can put up the.
Yeah, good. Okay. So there are three parts of my talk. Number one is to look at Alan's magic keys, 13 keys. Part two, I will be sharing with you my research finding based on the Sunspot theory and how this is affecting the election result in America. And number three, I would like to make some suggestions as to the direction for the candidates based on my research finding. Now, if you look at Alan's Richmond, which I just put up there, 13 points, I don't expect you to be able to read it because it's too small, but you really don't have to read it. What I'm trying to say is that out of those 13 points, only 4 of them are quantitative research. I mean, in research, there are two main categories. One is quantitative, the other is qualitative. For quantitative, it's based on facts and figure. anyone doing research would find the right answer. But for qualitative, is subject to subjectivity, different feel, different opinion. So I'm using Alan's 13 point at the state of the art or the contemporary data. I've given my own finding with text and clause in red. It may be a bit too small for you to see, but I can summarize that. Out of my own finding, out of the 13.5 of them have tick, which means 13 minus 5 is 7, right? No, 13 minus is 8.
8.
8 are negative. Now, according to Alan, he said that if is for the voter who is in position, for the candidate, sorry, who is in position, i.e. in this case Harris, as long as she can get 6 points, okay, she would have a very good chance to be elected. 6 points above, but my findings she only got 5. So this is exactly based on what Alan advocate. Now, the second point I want to talk about is his research rigor. Now, I watched several of his TV interviews, and I discovered a few interesting observations. He said that he only forecast close to election, 1 or 2 months, as he claimed. But one must understand, if say the election is in November, by September there are a lot of media advocating who should win, who should lose. Although those are not accurate, but at least that's a general viewpoint already. What I'm trying to say is that would he be using the same approach for the past 9 presidency? That he look at public media 1 or 2 months before, and then formulate his own opinion based on this press idea, and then make a forecast. Then anyone can do, not necessarily based on his 13 key points, right? And another observation, number 3 observation on him is that I have Google and Poe. You know, Poe is an AI software platform of exploration. I asked a simple question: has Mr. Alan Richman declared conflict of interest when he predict the previous 9 and the present 10 presidency, right? And the answer is there's no indication that he has declared any conflict of interest. Now, this is a myth. I'm not saying that he will or he has, right? But imagine if, for instance, Harris asked him, can you favor me? Then he has a vested interest in it. So for research like myself, that's why at the beginning, I myself and Ed agreed that we must declare our no conflict of interest. Very important for research. Yeah.
I'm Canadian.
So these are the 3 observations I have on Alan. And then another one, 4th one, is that during the TV interview, I observed quite a number of his TV interview. I think he's kind of dominating. He make it pretty complicated. He just tell the interviewer that is very sophisticated model based on my 30 years of research. It cannot be wrong, and the analysis is too difficult to explain to you, but the result tells. The result works. Now, to me, in terms of research, because at Oxbridge in UK, we are very concerned about academic rigor, research rigor, and one of the approach we are against is this called naivety in research. You cannot cover your naivety in research by making it a black box. In other words, your research methodology must be very crystal clear, must be convincing, must be able to stand the test of time. And I find that Alan has missed this point. It's not personal attack, but it's purely from academic point of view. I hope the reader could understand my point of view.
Fair enough.
Now, those are my 4 observations on Alan. Can I move to part 2 now?
Let's
On
see.
my sunspot theory. Okay.
I hope the screen can move. Yep.
All right. Okay. That's good. Now this is on sunspot theory. I'm glad that just show this up. Now I put a lot of effort to look at the past 46 presidency of USA, starting from the bottom, which is we all know George Washington, and you can see that all this red color. Well, firstly, I have to establish my sunspot theory. The sunspot cycle is 11 years. Why 11 years? Over the last human history, thousands of years, we record that it's 11-year cycle. It never changed because it never changed so easily anyway. Now, this 11-year cycle is very important because the sun itself is a big fireball, right? The surface is 5,400 degrees C. But when the black spot actually is impurity, from the center going to the top and circulate back to the center of the sun, and the cycle is 11 years. Now, what happens is when a lot of this impurity flow to the surface of the sun, it become only 3,700 degrees. And what happened to the difference of 1,700 degrees? It go to radiation to Earth. In other words, when there's a high sunspot, black spot, we have a lot of radiation from the sun. Although 1/2 billion part of the sun radiation come to Earth, but it's huge already. To be honest, if we don't have the magnetic field, we all die because the magnetic field filter out 90% of the radiation. So, but the 10% is important. Coming on the Earth affect every human being on Earth, you and me. Okay. Now, a lot of scientists, a lot of medical doctors, they do research and find out that when there's high sunspot, we are energetic. We have energy. We can do great things. So I look at the presidency. The red color are the 11-year cycle. And you can see that a bit small for me. I think its bottom is George Washington, and the third president is Jeffrey. He developed the Independence Declaration, just like said American need to be liberal, to be equality, to make everyone happy. So it's all in the Independence Declaration. And then if you go up, of course, President Lincoln liberated the slaves in America. And then you go up the First World War, the Second World War. Now, all these remark column on the right are great events happening in America. And when they happen, they are all red color. What does it mean? They are all when the sunspot is maximum. Now, if we go further up, of course, I do a tally. Out of those sunspot, we have 46 presidents. Incidentally, about 18 of them, total 30 hit the sunspot, right? Total 30. And out of that 30, 18 of them are Republican. And then 12 of them are Democratic Party. Now, at the beginning era of America, you must understand that they don't have Republican or Liberal. They have different names. Some at the beginning, they each one have joined. At the bottom, you can see. I'm not going through that kind of detail. But what I'm trying to say is that in terms of high sunspot, Republican has advantage because 18 against 12. Now, what happened in the next election? Incidentally, end of this year and beginning of next year, also a sunspot maximum. You can check from the space station from NASA. You just type space weather, it will tell you the sunspot. At the moment, it's about 100, over 100 average sunspot per day. It can go up to 200, the high one, okay? But the average I'm talking about. Now, what happens is that we are very energetic. And that tells us that from history, significant, 2/3 of the chance will be Republican win. So this is based on observation from the sunspot theory.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Okay. And then the last one, I have another slide.
Okay, let's speed up a little bit because
Okay,
we
then
are a
can you
little bit
move on to the next
running
one?
out of time. Yeah.
Okay. Now this I did a toast analysis at the Said Business School in Oxford. I teach this toast. It's a it's a renovative idea. A lot of people do SWOT, SWOT, strength, weaknesses, opportunity, and threat. But I revert the process. I say toast, threat to opportunity, weakness to strength. That will create change. And as you can see, Donald Trump, his weakness is he was under suspect of crime, but then he can change it to strength by repent and believe in God, right? And then the weakness to strength at the bottom, his weakness is cannot be like Obama, cannot have very concrete figure data to when he speak openly. But so he need to memorize some key point, like what we say, whether people eat illegal immigrant eat the cats and dog. He must give figures, and then crime rate must give figures. I just kind of figured that 60,000 crime are committed by illegal immigrants. So these are facts and figures he should quote.
Mhm.
And on the other hand, Camilla, I think her problem is she was a prosecutor, but the problem with prosecutor is that it's either black and white, yes and no. But he should look at economic. They don't know much about economic, but that's his weakness. But he has returned to strength, opportunity for her to look at how to improve the society rather than just talking about right or wrong. And weakness to strength, he should have. She has poor memory, even worse than Donald, I would say. And but one advantage is that she's in position, so she can get hold of what Biden has achieved and emphasize those rather than accusing uh, Donald on her deed uh, at, when he was a president, because that was history already. Okay, so these are some of strategy I would propose to them. Well, but in conclusion, I'm trying to say is that Ellen has some weakness in in his research. The Sunspot theory support that there's a better chance for Republican to win in the coming election. And finally, each candidate must look at their toes analysis, turning threat to opportunity and weakness to strength. Then we will have a more exciting uh, election debate and competition, if there's any, right? And God will know who will win at the end of the day. Thank you.
Okay. Now, I guess one of the more controversial issues is on November 5th.
Yes.
In some states, I heard you don't really have to show some sort of ID. This is strange to me in order to cast your vote. I mean, a lot of Americans, they don't travel overseas, so there must be some sort of identification, whether it is your driver's license. Um, I don't know about citizenship card, but U.S. passports. Um, maybe like for those audience who are watching it live or who watched this show afterwards, you can tell me under the current Biden administration, if people have to cast their vote on November 5th, I'm not talking about vote by mail, but really going to the polling station. How would they do it? How do they check whether this person is qualified, is legit to cast the vote? You tell me. This is one thing. And regarding pros and cons of both Donald Trump and also Kamala Harris. Um, for Trump, I guess he just says something from the heart. So a lot of his speeches, it's improvised. They don't read from the screen, and then If you look back at the last three debates, especially Trump versus Harris, I think Vice President Harris, she is very well prepared, and Trump just speaks the way he always does. And with Biden and Trump back in late June of this year, it's pretty obvious. It's a landslide victory for President Trump. Uh, JD Vance versus Tim Walz. I guess again, JD Vance. It's very eloquent, articulate, and then the biggest blow for the Democratic Party. It's when the presenter asked um, Tim Walz about his presence during the Tiananmen massacre. He was just mumbling. He was actually not at Tiananmen. He went to Hong Kong and China um, a few months after the crackdown happened. So these are like the presenters. They were doing some very good fact checks on both candidates. So these are my uh, so-called bird's eye view observation. And this TV debate, and too bad Fox TV cannot host a nationalized debate for Harris and Trump for obvious reasons. But I guess there are a lot of supporters in this election. The young people, they they are more into social media. Uh, Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala Harris, and then they could attract quite a substantial younger crowd. And then you have on the other side um, the founder of Tesla and X, right, Elon Musk, who
Yes.
whose appearance was very encouraging at one of President Trump's rally. Again, both Dr. Sample and I, we have no votes. We are like bystanders, uh, observers, so to speak. But this is quite important in terms of how things would unravel. Now, I guess my final comment is on also on Vice President Harris when the commentator on TV, not in the debate, asked her about what if um, communist China is going to attack Taiwan, what is the U.S. policy? And then she kind of stumbled on that. Just don't get into the details and just give you a very blurry type of answer. So this is that's far, how I have seen the election, and then like people don't care too much about the Canadian election, which might happen next year, or anything else going on, but the whole world was focused on the U.S. election in 3 weeks' time. So this is my concluding speech. So I give the last 1 minute to you, Sam.
Well, before I forget, I remind you of one thing. In research statistic, the minimum sample size is 30. Because the normal distribution, you need 30 to make a normal distribution.
Basic statistics.
You possibly, a lot of people would know it's simple A-level math. But then if you look at Allen, his sample is only 10. Not because he doesn't want it, but he cannot live long enough to look at all the presidency and foretell in while he's still alive. But for my research, I don't have to be alive. I just look at the data with the Sunspot. I look at 46 presidents. So it's more than 30, number one. Number two, I would like to clarify, purely from a research point of view, Donald Trump was president 4 years ago. Now, you may argue that, well, he hasn't done very well. Well, that could be true because at that time the Sunspot was minimum, it's not maximum. So he hasn't got strength and energy to do good things. But here, when in September in Pennsylvania, he was shoot on the ear, right or left, right?
Pennsylvania.
I feel that, well, this is a guy because he's a hero. He has the guts, he has the power, and the Sunspot support his activity. And he will be the next president. And the next president will sure make America great. So that's my deduction from my research, purely from my research. Thank you.
Okay, okay, yeah. So one interesting theory, you use your sunspot theory for different things. So I'm not going to comment too much on that. So that's your baby. But let's keep focus on the U.S. presidential election in the coming 3 weeks or so, and then very likely I will invite Sam to come on the show again. And I hope this is our first debut of the U.S. presidential election, so-called analysis views from Hong Kongers. Now we don't represent the Hong Kong government for obvious reasons. We don't. This is views from which is quite polarized, as I say. Like you definitely you have your conclusion already on who was going to be the next president, and Ellen Lichman also predicted Kamala Harris will win. And then I have to remain impartial, unbiased, and then just present the facts. Thank you again.
Okay.